I'm Kristen Casado. For the third time since Christmas Eve, a tour bus crashes on the way to Atlantic City. We'll have late details. Plus, wicked weather out west, and we could be next. Jeff Fox has your forecast tonight at 11.
June.
Remember When? 50 years of Connecticut news. Brought to you by your Tri-State Quality Ford dealers and by Yale New Haven Hospital. The year, 1948. Harry Truman is president and the baby boom begins. That same year, the lights go on inside a studio in New Haven, and Connecticut viewers tune their TV sets to the first and only station in the state. Over the years, we went from being action news to NewsChannel 8, but our commitment to covering the stories that matter to you never changed. Remember when the floods of 55 crippled communities across the state?
Floods of 55 were something I don't think anyone in Connecticut would forget.
You didn't have to leave home to feel the impact of a natural disaster, or the tragedy of the L'Ambiance Plaza collapse. Viewers witnessed the legacy of Ella Grasso and the jubilation of landing our first NFL team.
These are the images that create our community.
And we'll revisit some of your favorite faces from the past.
I was Gail Janis with the weather.
Find out what they're doing now and how their experience at Channel 8 changed their lives forever. Plus, how technology is helping us keep you better informed about your community and the world.
When you were on television, you were invincible.
A special journey back in time to salute a station that's always been ahead of its time. NewsChannel 8 presents Remember When? 50 years of Connecticut news.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ann Nyberg.
And I'm Brian Burnell, and thank you for joining us as we celebrate our golden anniversary.
We are coming to you from the New Haven Colony Historical Society, a place where the heritage and history of Connecticut has been documented and preserved for generations.
The history of the station is full of firsts. Besides being the first and only TV station in Connecticut between 1948 and 1953,
WNHC was the first station to broadcast in color on January 1st, 1954, with a telecast of the Tournament of Roses Parade.
We were the first to broadcast outdoors in June 1959 with the Tommy Bartlett Water Show at Lighthouse Point. In June 1958, we were the first local station to use videotape.
And we hosted the first exercise program in color featuring a woman with Exercise with Gloria. Well, we are proud of our many firsts. We are equally as proud of the many talented people who have worked for Channel 8 in front of the camera and behind the scenes over the years.
Throughout the next hour, we'll be looking back at some of the people Connecticut viewers have counted on over the past 50 years for their news, and we'll find out what some of them are doing.
And one man who's been an enormous asset to our station and the community is Mr. Ken Vennett, who has been associated with the station for some 21 years.
Ken, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the help on this special.
It's a privilege to be here.
So what do you remember? Did anything stick out from the 21 years you've been involved with Channel 8?
Well, I think my most enjoyable time was as an action news anchor. I also interviewed President Nixon and covered Ella Grasso's funeral, covered the blizzard, ate dog food, wrestled a bear, Yankee Traveler, high school bowl. They kept me busy.
Yeah.
Besides eating dog food, Ken, your most favorite moment at the station?
Well, it's not a moment, it's a lifelong friendship that I have with so many people. No matter what has become of them, we've kept in touch over the years and the miles, and that's the greatest treasure of all of having worked at Channel 8.
With the Dick Galliettes, the George Grands, the Gail Janices, those people?
They are just terrific, and it's like a family. And one day we're going to have a reunion, and you're going to need a pretty big hall to hold us all.
And Ken, what are you doing now?
I'm a television news consultant and a talent coach, and among my clients are the Weather Channel, and I did the weather for 2 years at Channel 8, the AccuWeather man.
We know you are missed, and thanks so much for being with us here tonight.
Thanks for inviting me.
We wouldn't be here tonight if not for several ambitious New Haven businessmen who put us on the TV dial in 1948. WNHC TV 6 went on the air on June 15, 1948, the first television station in southern New England, broadcasting a test pattern to 10,000 receivers. The test pattern was good for television salesmen, giving them something to tune into so the customer could see something on the screen. A man who sold products from Italy, Aldo Di Dominicus, was joined by New Haven postmaster Patrick Good and 4 others, the first owners of the so-called New Haven station. Their studio was in an old funeral home on Chapel Street. The broadcast antenna was 11 miles away on Gaylord Mountain in Hamden, the same place the transmitter sits today. Within 5 days of going on the air, viewers saw Dumont Network coverage of the Republican convention in Philadelphia. Life on Channel 6 was short. In the mid-50s, WNHC moved to Channel 8 on the dial.
Oh, there it is, right over there.
Many of the shows broadcast on Channel 8 were done locally. In the early days, there was Cadoodle the Clown and Cooking with Roz. Later on came Bandstand, featuring the latest music and local high school kids dancing the afternoon away. The owners were worried about growing competition from news stations in New Britain and Hartford. In 1956, they sold WNHC TV and 2 radio stations to Triangle Publications for $5.5 million. The new owners made some improvements, breaking new ground for new studios on College Street, upgrading the transmitter. But Triangle also cut the news staff. News was still not the focus of local television, but News and Public Affairs Director Bill Ellison took the station down new paths into the heart of the community.
Looking at things that were going on in minority areas, in urban areas, things in education and police community relations, training inner city teachers and so forth, covered the gamut in terms of the kinds of things that people needed to know more about.
Included in the community-oriented programming, telethons to raise money for worthy organizations, and expanded election coverage. There was news coverage, all stories shot on film. Len Santa was a film editor.
Film had to be physically cut, physically spliced, viewed, looked at, cut, spliced. Very slow, painstaking procedure.
Ellison was in charge of news during the war protest years of the 60s and early 70s. There was action on the news, so Channel 8 became...
This is Action News.
Action News was ushered in at about the same time the station was sold by Triangle to Capital Cities Communications.
Good evening. Under a time deadline...
The call letters changed from WNHC to WTNH. Cap Cities made a commitment to news. More people were hired, and the emphasis shifted to local news. Stories were shot on film, which took time to develop and edit. In the Action News format, time was of the essence. Videotape soon replaced film, and an Action News bureau opened in Hartford. Live trucks were added to the news gathering arsenal, making it possible for reporters to report live from many parts of Connecticut. In 1983, the station moved for a 3rd time to the studios on Elm Street, where we are today. There has been more than news produced in these studios. The Sally Jesse Raphael Show came to New Haven, to WTNH, to tape during the late 80s.
I'll never forget what it was like standing around in my underwear, wondering, I wonder where Richard Penna is, only to find out that he was down the hall making Diane Smith look glamorous.
In 1985, Cap Cities merged with ABC, meaning WTNH would be sold again. The buyer this time, Cook Inlet Broadcasting. In 1994, they sold to the current owners, Lynn Broadcasting.
Live. This is News Channel 8 at 5.
The commitment to local news coverage has been re-emphasized. The familiar Action News has been replaced with a new name that puts news first. The Southeastern Newsroom at the Day in New London opened in 1995, and the latest news-gathering tool took off this year, Chopper 8 Live.
Chopper 8 Live, a whole new dimension of news coverage, only on News Channel 8.
News has come a long way. You know, we caught up with one of our former news anchors who witnessed much of our station's history firsthand.
He first joined WNHC in 1955.
The president called for peaceful coexistence as the...
George Thompson is considered a legend in Connecticut news. He started in 1955, retiring 27 years later. George was known as the man with many jobs because he did whatever he had to get the newscast on the air.
We were limited by the number of cameras we had. Not only did we have to process film, but still pictures we couldn't directly put on the air. We had to put them on an easel and put a studio camera in front of them and shoot the picture to get it out into the air. It's horse and buggy days compared to what it is today.
George is so right. Now, not only can we get live from anywhere around the world, but even from outer space.
He's retired now and living in Hamden, where he's spending a lot of time with his family and his grandkids.
We were there when the National Guard surrounded New Haven on May Day, and we captured the images of the Myannis Bridge collapse in the 80s. Coming up, we'll look back at the big stories of the past 50 years. Plus, some Channel 8 alumni are still bringing you the news on TV today, but we'll catch up with one familiar face who went on to become a local mayor. It's all ahead on Remember When, 50 Years of Connecticut News.
Congratulations on 50 great years at WTNH. From those of us down here in Jacksonville, Florida, we're hoping for 50 more great years in New Haven and serving everybody in the state of Connecticut.
Ford Escort, built to last, built for the way you live. And now, during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance, you can target a new Escort and get financing as low as 0.9% on every 99 Escort in stock. Or get $1,000 cash back when you buy or lease. And Escort's a smart car that has all the performance, comfort, features, and versatility no matter what your mission is. 0.9% financing or $1,000 cash back on Ford Escort during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance at your Tri-State Quality Ford store today.
Could the key to happiness really be a key? Now's the perfect time to find out. It's the Mazda year-end clearance event, where you can get low 0.9% APR financing on every new 99 Mazda in stock. Plus, make no monthly payments until April. Get into the Mazda year-end clearance event now and change your outlook on driving forever.
It's the celebration of the year, Toyotathon's 20th anniversary. Get incredible year-end values on Camry with financing as low as 2.9% APR for 36 months. Or lease now for $259 a month and zero money down, and your dealer will even take care of your first month's payment. So don't miss Toyotathon's 20th anniversary, going on now.
Mud holes, dirt roads. Most people wouldn't think of driving through stuff like that. But then that's the beauty of Subaru all-wheel drive. It automatically transfers power from the wheels that slip to the wheels that grip, which means it does the thinking for you.
Sorry, mate. Guess I wasn't thinking.
See your local Subaru dealer before January 4th. Make your best offer on any new Subaru and take $500 off.
I was at WTNH for 9 years. That's a lot of stories. Al, this is the biggest winter storm we've seen in Connecticut in 15 years, ever since the blizzard of 1978. Thanks for the memories, Connecticut.
Carla left Connecticut several years ago. She's now covering national stories for ABC News.
And someone else you may remember went on to make his mark as a mayor in Connecticut.
I miss working with young reporters. Seeing these young people, the raw talent, and having the opportunity just to pass along what I learned. You hear the Mayor Frank Logue.
Bob Norman shared a lot with young reporters during his 18 years at Channel 8. He went on to be elected mayor of East Haven and served 2 terms. He says you had to be prepared for anything during a live broadcast every night.
Stand by 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. The film broke. Good evening.
That's what happens when you're doing live television. Bob now works in Rocky Hill as an assistant to the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs.
Another familiar face to Connecticut viewers now calls Atlanta home, where he anchors for CNN.
Desegregation of southern schools this
From Channel 8 to CNN, newsman Ralph Wenge has made a name for himself. He was the original action news anchor, and during his days here, he remembers covering the tragic crash of an Allegheny Airlines flight at Tweed, New Haven Airport, a crash that killed 28 people when the plane tried to land in the fog.
I had to do some objective reporting. I had to be a reporter who told the story in purely objective terms and not with the sadness that was overpowering me, having never seen anything like this before.
That plane crash is just one of the many big stories that we've covered for you over the past 50 years.
Diane Smith takes a look back at some of the other unforgettable events, first on film, then on videotape.
This news set has changed so much over the years, but one thing hasn't: our commitment to bringing you the stories that make a difference. News Channel 8 reporters have covered so many big stories over these decades. Here are just a few of the ones that made an impact on us all. In 1955, a hurricane named Diane soaked Connecticut. WNHC's Jack Youngs was there as raging floodwaters claimed 200 lives.
I'd find maybe a housewife, and everybody was gawking at the storm, you know, but they weren't in danger, not unless they were in the path of the storm. So they would take the film for me and bring it back to the station.
In '56, the kidnapping of a baby in Hampton grabbed national headlines. The body was later found in Lake Whitney, the mother charged. Tragedy struck again in '58 when a factory fire on Franklin Street killed 15 workers. In the '60s, it seemed the world turned upside down. Yale chaplain William Sloan Coffin led anti-war demonstrations. Some young men enlisted, while a protest against recruiters at stores turned violent. There was growing racial turmoil in the state's inner cities. Just 3 years after the opening of I-91, the worst accident in the state's history was blamed on fog. May Day and massive anti-war protests in New Haven and Hartford ushered in the '70s.
We went back to the station from the green, walk in, and here's armed National Guardsmen.
Murder charges were dropped against Black Panther chairman Bobby Seale in 1971 after a long trial and a hung jury. 28 people died when an Allegheny airliner went down in East Haven. In 1978, the basketball crowd had just emptied out when the roof of the Hartford Civic Center caved in.
Almost everybody we talked to in Hartford says they remember where they were the day the roof collapsed or how they first heard about it.
3 murders from the '70s are still unsolved. Peter Riley was accused of killing his mother. Penny Sarah died in the Temple Street garage, and Martha Moxley was killed in Greenwich. Minister David Bubar was accused in the firebombing of Shelton's sponge rubber plant, the biggest in FBI history.
Press on!
1975 was the year Ella Grasso made history as the first woman in America elected governor. Halfway through her second term, Ella resigned, dying of cancer.
I love each and every one of you. I love you all.
4 tragic stories from the '80s led to changes that make us safer today. Toll booths were banned after 7 people were killed when a tractor-trailer slammed into cars lined up at the Stratford tolls. Stricter bridge inspections were enforced after 2 trucks and 2 cars plunged into darkness.
This bridge was safe last September, and this bridge until 1:30 this morning was safe. Well, as of 1:30, it was in the river.
A section of the Mianus River Bridge had come down. Underground gas lines are safer since the explosion that leveled Derby's River restaurant. 6 lives were lost. A construction technique was outlawed after an apartment building collapsed in a roar and a cloud of dust. Photographer Pat Child.
God help me, when I got down there and there's all this, the hope that stayed alive for days and days and days and days and days of, you know, oh, we're going to find somebody, we're going to find somebody, find somebody. I got down there, I took a look at that, I said, nobody lives through this thing. They can't live through it.
28 construction workers died at L'Ambiance Plaza. Some names still haunt us. Michael Ross is on death row, charged in the killings of 6 women. The '90s saw the beginning of the most successful casino ventures in the hemisphere with the opening of Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. After a decade on the run, Alex Kelly was convicted of rape. Workplace violence erupted this year as a troubled man shot and killed 4 co-workers before turning the weapon on himself at lottery headquarters. Sheff versus O'Neill was the lawsuit that lasted through much of the decade. It was meant to desegregate our schools. Some complain not much has been done. This year ends with a deal to bring the NFL to Hartford, a story that will take us into the next century. The team is expected to play its first game in Hartford in the year 2001. Some are predicting it will bring a life back into the city that will turn it into the vibrant center it was when we signed on the air 50 years ago. I'm Diane Smith. Now back to you at the Historical Society.
Thanks, Diane. One Channel 8 alum says covering news here in Connecticut helped him land his dream job in New York.
For Reggie Harris, it all began on one very chilly day.
Chairman of the Judiciary Committee is
Reggie is an award-winning anchor reporter with 6 Emmys to his name.
This is the only truck that made it.
He grew up wearing shorts in Florida and wasn't prepared for his first New England winter.
I was 24 years old, and I had never seen snow. I know that the Yankees watching out there on TV said, you know, Margot, this boy ain't from here, you know, because I just wasn't in the proper garb, and no one said anything, and as soon as I could afford to, I got myself some decent clothes. But it was after the winter. That first winter was thin leather.
And Reggie still has strong ties to Connecticut. One of his 2 children was born at Yale New Haven Hospital.
Never a dull moment when it comes to Connecticut weather. Join us as we look at the way predicting storms has changed over the years. Plus, can you guess which former Channel 8 favorites are now teachers and who went on to record a CD of big band songs? The answers when Remember When 50 Years of Connecticut News returns.
Even though I work in New York City, I still live in Connecticut and commute into the city, so I'm always coming home, hitting the clicker and watching Annie and the whole gang at Channel 8, and you're looking great.
Curves, angles, one new shape leading to another. It's the geometry of change at the new Dodge. Change that led to Dodge Caravan, the original minivan that since introduction has offered more innovations than any other, which leads us to this pleasing shape, our best sales curve ever. To continue this trend, we're offering $1,000 cash allowance or 1.9 financing, or get a $239 lease on this Caravan. New shapes, new thinking from the new Dodge. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you for this limited time offer.
So, Cal, how's the knee?
Fine, Max, just like new.
Sam, your back still bothering you?
Nope, never.
Hey, Mort.
What?
How's your ticker?
You know perfectly well it's fine.
We know
Yeah.
that with a lifetime of the best health care,
Hey, Max, where you going?
Home.
getting older
We got nothing to talk about.
doesn't have to feel like getting older.
It's the end of the year and your ship has come in because now you can get some of the best deals of the year on Nissan cars and trucks during Nissan's holiday sales event. Like $2,000 cash back on 99 Maximas, the best-selling import V6 sedan in America. And get $2,500 cash back on tough and rugged 99 Pathfinders. Plus, now through January 4th, Nissan's giving you an additional $500 off on virtually every 99 Nissan. Hurry into your Nissan dealer and get a great deal now before you miss the boat.
We'll double your down payment. Drive a 99 Camry for only $179 a month.
Unbelievable.
The sale of 99, the sale of the century. Only at Colonial Toyota, the Toyota source.
Looking for some year-end financial tips to help you ease in the new year? Our financial expert will show you how. Dr. Mellon Weather, Wednesday, 5 a.m.
Crank it up with Live's music chart toppers.
Sounds good.
On the next Regis and Kathy Lee.
Wednesday at 9 on News Channel 8.
Gail Janis made news as one of the first female weather forecasters in the state in 1972.
Lovely, lovely. Oh, my, oh, my.
She left Connecticut for Atlanta, where she worked in television and public relations before launching a new career as a special education teacher.
We do have finally spring. And
Gail, who's married and has a son, says she never realized the impact she had on Connecticut viewers.
When I left Channel 8, I felt that, and there was a big controversy about my leaving. I was totally surprised. I had no idea that it would really bother anybody or that many people would notice. So the people in New England may have very fond feelings for folks, but sometimes they don't tell them a whole lot. So I was kind of surprised that I was that popular or that I would be missed.
It took months to track Gail down, but it's so good to see her again.
Connecticut weather is tough to predict, but that challenge provided some fun, according to a couple of forecasters from the past 50 years.
But it's going to be a very windy day. Mark my words, all of you, with a hairspray.
Roberto Tirado used his outrageous sense of humor to make his forecasts memorable.
And you had little magnetized suns and moons and clouds, and you just throw them. They would land, they go.
He went on to work in New York City before launching a singing career and recording a CD of big band songs at the urging of comedian Steve Allen. Now he walks the halls of Long Island's Briarcliff College, where he teaches theater. He shares his good wishes.
Hey, Connecticut, this is Roberto Tirado. I was with you many years ago. Happy 50th anniversary, and that you may have many, many more.
You may remember her as Gail Carroll. Now she's Gail Silverberg. The mother of four teaches drama at Choate, where many students don't realize she was one of America's first weather girls. She credits forecasters at the National Weather Service with helping her learn what she needed to know to predict Connecticut's weather.
They taught me all about isobars and all about what barometric pressure was and how to read a weather chart and how to sort of chart weather and what weather systems meant. And so I really understood the vocabulary of it.
A lot has changed since then. When Gail became pregnant with the first of her 4 children, she was let go. There were no laws to protect her or her job.
That doesn't happen to women in television news anymore. In fact, I had 3 children while working on the air, including twins.
Whether it was the floods of '55 or the blizzard of '78, Mother Nature has pounded our state with several sudden storms. Technology is helping forecasters predict with more precision to give people more advanced warning, but that wasn't always the case. Just ask meteorologist Dr. Mel.
During the last 50 years, we have had our share of weather, and living near the shoreline, we have quite a variety of storms. The great hurricanes and floods of the 1950s. The big snowy winters of the 1960s, along with the record-breaking snow of the 1995-96 winter.
A violent storm packing heavy rains.
On the ground, the devastation is unmistakable.
Even tornadoes have ripped through the region. Remember the 1979 tornado that came through Windsor and Windsor Locks? And 10 years later, the swarm of tornadoes that swept southward from Cornwall to Hamden. But through it all, we've experienced a revolution in the way we predict the weather. Just as we came on the air back in 1948, computers came on the scene. And one of the first applications to computers was for weather forecasting. But amazingly, computers really didn't catch on for about 30 years until 1978, when something really huge came along.
According to AccuWeather, the storm has the characteristics of a classic.
Effective at 10 o'clock tonight, I am ordering that all roads and highways in our state be closed.
The storm developed off the southeast coast and slowly moved northward toward New England in classic nor'easter fashion. But even the National Weather Service failed to issue warnings or advisories about this monster storm. Yet one of the newest computer products of the time accurately predicted the storm's arrival and intensity. It was right on the money. After the February blizzard, forecasters became believers. Now we have more than a dozen computer models which assist meteorologists. They show a variety of weather behavior throughout the entire atmosphere. Storms can even be studied in 3 dimensions. Since 1948, we have learned more about how oceans also interact with the atmosphere and how features such as El Nino have far-reaching global effects. But that doesn't mean we can't go outside and do it the old-fashioned way with an observation. Machines are great, but they still could use some of our help. Back to you at the Historical Society.
Thanks, Mel. And a little later in the show, Jeff Fox will take a sneak peek into the future to show us where technology and television will take viewers next.
If you're a baby boomer who grew up in Connecticut, you probably remember the popular show, The Friends of Mr. Goober. The character was a janitor and then the owner of a general store. He was played by Mike Warren.
Call, mailman is here. You get the impression I'm about to get some mail?
The days of the overalls and classic hat are not forgotten by Mike Warren. Although he did news, sports, weather, and hosted different entertainment shows, Mike was best known for his children's program, Mr. Goober.
So we did the show for nothing for 5 months. But the good news was the ratings were just through the roof. Just absolutely through the roof.
That's because the thing to do was to come home after school and watch Mr. Goober.
Mike now lives in Brantford with his family, where he has a marketing company.
A front row seat to all the action on the field or on the court. When we return, Channel 8 Sports turns 50. Plus, a star-studded salute to a station that came into focus before any other in the state. Stay tuned. Remember When 50 Years of Connecticut News is coming right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally Ann Mosley. Remember me from the morning show? Well, now I'm working in Philadelphia at the ABC station. It's a beautifully historic town. And speaking of history, allow me to congratulate Channel 8 for 50 years of terrific television.
Ford Taurus, built to last, built for the way you live. And now, during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance, You can zero in on a new Taurus LX with a $259 a month lease, or get financing as low as 1.9% on any 99 Taurus in stock. Get the only sedan in its class to earn the government's 5-star front crash test rating. Get 40 standard safety and security features. Plus, it's $1,000 less than last year. $259 a month lease or 1.9 financing during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance at your Tri-State Quality Ford store today.
Hello, I'm Hank Yagi. This year, News Channel 8 celebrated its 50th anniversary. Through the year, we presented special programs that both look back at our past and forward to the future. A future that sees News Channel 8 bringing the first broadcast in high-definition television to Connecticut. In the spirit of the season, let me take this moment to thank you for your support and to wish you and your family all the best of the new year. Happy holidays from all of us at News Channel 8.
Tis the season for the Lexus December to Remember sales event, with values you've never dreamed possible. After all, we know not everyone has visions of sugar plums. Ends January 4th. So make haste to your Hartford New Haven Lexus dealer.
It's Colonial Toyota's biggest sale ever.
99 cars, trucks, and vans. Only $99 down.
Brand new 99s, $99 down.
If I hadn't seen the price, I wouldn't have believed it.
The sale of 99, the sale of the century. We'll double your down payment. Drive a 99 4Runner for $279 a month or make no payments till spring. 99 4Runner, $279 a month.
Why pay more?
The sale of 99, the sale of the century. Only at Colonial Toyota, the Toyota Source on Boston Post Road in Milford.
Happy birthday, Channel 8. It means a lot to the community that you've lasted this long. It means a lot to us at ABC News, too. Congratulations.
Happy 50th, WTNH.
And here's to 50 more. Congratulations, WTNH, on 50 years of broadcasting.
Keep up the good work, and we'll be watching in all the years to come.
Who's going to be watching? I can't even pick it up.
He's coughing, Art's talking.
Do you mind, Art?
Can we make the prompter dark?
WTNH, I never heard of it.
Sure you have it. It's New Haven. New Haven.
New Haven. Where's that?
Oh, by the way, I knew why I was here for this moment. Happy 50th anniversary to WTNH in New Haven, and many more to come. I'll keep looking at you. I can't come out and play.
Is he great or what?
He's still Ed Norton.
Oh, he sure is. You know, through the years, we've tried to give you the best seat in town so that you can capture all the excitement and exhilaration of sports from the high school level right up to professional sports.
That seat is right in front of your TV. One of the major players on News Channel 8 is Noah Finns. He has a look at some of the biggest sports stories of the recent past.
Thanks, Ann and Brian. I'm at the New Haven Coliseum, home of the Beast of New Haven and former home of the Nighthawks and Blades and so many other teams that have played games here. But when you talk about sports in this state, you have to start with the University of Connecticut basketball program.
Throws one up. It,
Sports over the last 50 years have to start with the emergence of UConn hoops. The Huskies made people around the country aware that UConn is more than just a region in Alaska. Under head coach Jim Calhoun, who came to Connecticut in 1986, the men's basketball program emerged as one of the country's elite. Who will ever forget Tate George's shot in the NCAA tournament? Or future film star Ray Allen's shot to win the Big East Championship? Unbelievable! The big plays continue. And are expected to get even better.
Abrasimova ahead of the fields for two.
With Coach Gino Auriemma at the helm throughout this last decade, the women's basketball team has been one of the country's most dominant.
We are the champions!
The perfect season with a national championship in 1995 will be regarded as one of the most successful teams ever, not just in the state, but in the country. And their success goes beyond that. Every year, the Huskies are expected to compete for another national title. A packed Yale Bowl. It was that way for the better part of 2 seasons when the New York Giants called it home.
I remember going to Giants games at the Yale Bowl, you know, and watching the professional football players and just thinking that was just insane.
College football fans also packed Yale Bowl to watch Yale, at one time a huge draw.
When you walked out of that portal, you felt like you were a gladiator going into the Coliseum.
Yale Bowl also served as the host for one of the world's biggest events, the nationally televised Special Olympic World Games, a big event for News Channel 8.
Back over to the Whalers.
For 25 years, the Whalers called Hartford home, but in 1997, they got the puck out of town. The team left for thicker ice in North Carolina, the last pro sports team in Connecticut. That is, until a blizzard came to town, bringing us pro women's basketball. There have been and continue to be semi-pro teams which give us a look at players on their way up. Minor league baseball teams throughout the state. Minor league hockey, basketball, and soccer. It started as the Sammy Davis Jr. Open. Now it's called the Greater Hartford Open, a golf tournament that brings national attention to Hartford every year. We've also had pro tennis to cover. First, the Volvo, which recently became the Pilot Penn International. The men's tournament struggled and is now gone, but a women's tournament takes its place.
Allen finishes at the other end.
Over the last 50 years, Connecticut has produced some great athletes who are now among the best in the world. Football players Steve Young, Bill Romanowski, Eugene Robinson. Baseball players Jeff Bagwell, Charles Nagy, and Mo Vaughn. Basketball player Vin Baker, and hockey players Brian Leach and Chris Drury, just to name a few. In fact, Drury was one of the Trumbull Little Leaguers to play in the 1989 Little League World Series.
Trumbull wins it!
And we have so many other young athletes excelling in sports, especially at the high school level, which News Channel 8 has been covering for the last 50. But now there's a way to keep some of the local athletes in state and a chance for local fans to have a real home team instead of looking to regional teams.
The New England Patriots will play their first home game in Hartford in the fall of 2001.
As soon as the new stadium is built, Connecticut will be home to the NFL, putting Connecticut in the sports spotlight like never before. So it won't be long before the Patriots will take us into the next 50 years of Connecticut sports. It will be just one added attraction to sports in Connecticut. Ann and Brian, back to you.
Thanks, Noah. Our coverage of all those sporting events wouldn't have been so great if it hadn't been for all the reporters and anchors who have worked at Channel 8 over the years.
We caught up with a couple of those popular faces from the past who are still working in the sports arena.
The guest speaker.
Dick Galliette began covering Connecticut sports in the early 60s when the station was WNHC and the plays were captured on black and white film.
This is what it's all about.
He left the station after 20 years, but he didn't leave the business. He now does radio, covering his first love, Yale football. Dick says viewers probably remember him best for his hard-hitting sports commentaries.
Nobody ever told me what to do or what not to do in that area, so but just that they wanted me to do as many as I wanted to do, and so I would do them quite frequently, maybe 3-4 times a week. Took on any subject imaginable. You know, I could get people pretty angry very easily.
Remember when Dick shared the anchor desk with Gail Janis, Cheryl Preble, and George Grand in the 70s?
Yesterday, the PUCA okayed...
George used his anchoring skills to make the move into sports and went on to work for CBS in New York before joining ESPN as one of its first sports anchors. He says his fondest memories of Channel 8 are the times covering high school sports.
More than anything, as I look back on it, the kids, the coaches who gave their life, their time for these young kids were the special people that we had to cover for sports.
George still calls Connecticut home, and he's the voice of the Cincinnati Reds baseball team.
And when Dick is not doing Yale games, he spends his time with his family and friends in Hamden.
They are the people who've directly impacted Connecticut communities. When we return, a look back at the newsmakers of the past 50. Also, whatever happened to this popular action news anchor team? Find out as we remember when 50 years of Connecticut news. But first, some memories from Milwaukee.
I think what I miss most about Good Morning Connecticut is working with Keith Coons and Sally Ann Mosey. It was just so much fun. What I don't miss is the question that everybody always asks me, the two questions actually, what time I went to bed and what time I got up.
Hey, the news is on at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Ford Explorer, built Ford tough, built for the way you live. And now, during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance, you can target a new Explorer and get financing as low as 1.9% on every '99 Explorer in stock. Or set your sights on an Explorer Sport and get a $299 a month lease. Or lease an Explorer 4-door for just $349 a month. 1.9 financing, $299 lease on Explorer Sport, $349 lease on XLT. The new Ford Explorer. Target one now during your Ford dealer's year-end clearance at your Tri-State Quality Ford store today.
It's an event that is well understood, yet somehow so mysterious. A process that brings endless happiness and absolute joy. But to a woman who gives birth for the first time in her 40s, it may be the most wonderful miracle of all.
You think we're ready for this?
Now you're asking.
For over a year, A1 Toyota's been warning you about car buying gimmicks.
But Toyota buyers have listened and know the best place to buy is at A1 Toyota. Oh, but you're used car buyers.
Don't you get it? Are you crazy? When you buy privately or from other dealers, you can't get A1 Toyota's best price values.
100% guarantee for 100 days. 7-day exchange privilege. Lifetime oil changes, 1-year roadside assistance, and more.
So used car buyers, get with it. Come to A1 Toyota.
A1 Toyota, 'cause it's the right thing to do.
You have to drive it, and the car will speak for itself.
Take a test drive and experience it yourself.
Introducing the restyled 1999 Hyundai Elantra. Now it comes with America's best warranty, the Hyundai Advantage. And for the first time, it includes standard air conditioning at just $11,184. So now there's a whole new reason why you've got to drive one to believe. It's a whole new Hyundai. Get the restyled Elantra with America's best warranty for just $11,184.
So many wonderful people over the years who've worked so hard for WTNH. We could not have done it without you.
And Connecticut wouldn't be where it is without the vision and dedication of a number of newsmakers over the years. News Channel 8's chief capital correspondent Mark Davis has a look at some of the people who have made a difference over the past 50 years.
Thanks, Ann and Brian, and good evening, everyone. You know, 1948 was a very important year to me. Not only did this station sign on the air, I signed on that year as well. I was born in 1948. And up to that point, almost every major newsmaker in the state had been Yankee Republican. But in the 1950s, that started to change with a man called Abe.
One of the first grants went to New Haven.
Abraham Ribicoff, the only person in U.S. history to have served as a state legislator, a judge, a member of Congress, a governor, a cabinet secretary, and a U.S. senator. From the 1950s until 1981, Ribicoff dominated Connecticut and national news, and in his later life became a prominent member of New York City society. As a member of President Kennedy's cabinet, his imprint on foreign and domestic policy is still felt today in international trade and health services. His successor in the Senate learned about politics on the knee of Ribicoff's Senate colleague, Thomas Dodd.
I only hope that I can fill the shoes of the man who is retiring.
Christopher Dodd was elected when Ribicoff retired.
He had movie star looks and a great voice. And in a sense, we're talking here now, of course, on the 50th anniversary of one of the premier stations in the country. He came right into the age of television without breaking stride.
Ella Tambushi Gressel! Thank you!
24 years ago, the state elected the first woman governor in history. She was also the first woman in U.S. history to be elected governor without following her husband into office. She had tremendous voter appeal. William O'Neill served as her campaign manager, party chairman, and eventual running mate.
It was almost like Mother Ella, and people really, truly supported her and loved her.
At the end of 1980, Grasso, weakened by cancer, resigned, and O'Neill became governor.
Good to see you again.
He went on to become the longest-serving governor in state history and oversaw the complete rebuilding of the entire state road and bridge system.
Certainly the road and bridge program in the state of Connecticut. And ironically, if the Mianus Bridge had not collapsed, I would have never been able to probably pass a bond issue of that magnitude.
The American people have seen things that have been illegal. They've seen things that have been unconstitutional. And they've seen and heard those things which I could only categorize as gross.
In 1973, a freshman U.S. senator from Connecticut named Lowell Weicker crashed onto the national scene by being the only Republican on the Senate Watergate Committee to oppose President Nixon during the worst scandal of the past 50 years. 17 years later, after narrowly losing his Senate seat to Joe Lieberman, he bolted the party and was elected governor. Republican Eunice Groark ran with him and became the first woman lieutenant governor in state history.
I think there were two historic firsts. Not only the fact that I was the first woman lieutenant governor, but Lowell Weicker and I were the first independent successful candidates, petitioning candidates to win statewide office in recent memory.
Axe the tax! Axe the tax! Axe the tax!
The term was anything but tranquil. After a tumultuous assembly session, Weicker implemented an income tax, which was met by the largest public protest in state history. It had been a political taboo topic since 1948.
I did not go into the governorship as a tax reformer. That had no place on my agenda whatsoever. I was totally satisfied, as long as it could work, with a system that existed. Unfortunately, there was just no way that we could do anything other than what we eventually ended up with in terms of the facts. Not just bailing us out of the red from the past, but making sure we wouldn't go back into the red in the future.
In November of 1998, John Rowland became the first Republican in more than 50 years to be re-elected governor. Days later, he announced a plan to bring the New England Patriots to Connecticut and got overwhelming approval from the General Assembly to build a stadium linked to a total rebuilding of the Hartford riverfront. I asked Rowland where he places all this among his career accomplishments.
In terms of career accomplishments, I would say it has to be in the top three. What are the other two? I don't know.
And the rest of the joke that day was the other two haven't happened yet. Maybe in the next 50 years. Brian and Ann, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. Broadcasting is a very transient business. In fact, we have to move around all the time for our careers.
We've been fortunate at Channel 8 to have a long, distinguished list of talented reporters, photojournalists, and anchors over the years.
Some folks have moved across the dial, others across the country. But one thing they have in common, fond memories of Channel 8.
Good evening, everyone. We're reaching the peak right now of Connecticut's latest snowstorm.
Connecticut native Pat Sheehan has spent the last 3 decades on the air, working at a number of stations in the market, including public television. At night, he anchors the news at Fox 61, but by day, he's an investment advisor. He says News Channel 8's success is due in great part to the talented photojournalists.
I would say that Channel 8 over the 50 years stands out in terms of the quality of its photography on the street when it comes to news. Has always had the best photographers, has always had the most ambitious, those who, if they weren't the best, felt they were the best and could go out and make the extra effort.
Well, the United States Supreme Court has turned its back on a big
Action News anchor Jerry Harris has a new last name and a new anchor desk in Oklahoma City. Jerry is married with one son and credits WTNH with launching her 20-year broadcasting career.
I was a brand new, very green rookie reporter, and those were the days of film. So you spent the day with the photographer and then you rushed back to get that film in the processor, and if you didn't get it in there, you didn't have a newscast with video or film, as we said then.
Someone else who made a very big impact at Channel 8 still anchors the news in Connecticut.
Let's see how many of you remember this promotion, introducing the newest face on Channel 8 back in the 80s.
A mail for Janet Pack and Peck?
You mean Peck and Paw?
Oh.
Hey, I saw you on the news last night. Pretty good.
One of the most popular people at WTNH over the years remains on the air in Connecticut.
To cover the cost of the project,
Janet Peckinpah is a working mom with a 10-year-old son. While she enjoys her current role as a morning anchor at NBC 30, she says her years at Channel 8 hold a special place in her heart.
Now, Action News.
My news director and I were walking to lunch. We were going down Elm Street one day. I'll never forget it. And I said, I am so happy here. I love it here. And he said, you know what? We're all going to look back on this time in our careers, and this is going to be the best time in our careers. And he was so right. It really was. It was the best.
Many of the people we talked with for this special shared the same feelings about their experience at Channel 8.
New technology is making it easier for us to bring viewers important information. Coming up next, a preview of what could be coming our way in the next 50 years. But first, some words from Cincinnati.
Happy 50th from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm Wendy Cicchetti now with WLWT, also celebrating its 50th year.
And if you look here, you don't get a much better looking backdrop than this.
I may no longer be, quote, working for you, but you can bet as often as I can get back to the East Coast, I'll be watching you.
Ford Windstar, built to last, built for the way you live. And right now is the best time to set your sights on the newly resculptured Windstar and get financing as low as 0.9 or $1,000 cash back. Or line up a lease for just $299 a month. And Windstar comes with the government's highest 5-star safety rating. And the new 99 Windstar has available dual remote sliding doors, 0.9 financing or $1,000 cash back. Or a $299 a month lease on the newly redesigned 99 Ford Windstar. See it today at your Tri-State Quality Ford store.
No matter where you stand, there's always a new horizon. No matter what happened yesterday, there's tomorrow. Because life is the most precious gift of all, a heart problem doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning.
You know, they did a good job fixing your heart. Maybe they can fix your swing. Wait till you see the next shot. It's going to be a thing of beauty.
These days, seems like everybody's got a Cherokee or an Explorer. Me, I like to stand out a bit. That's why I drive a Subaru Outback. With a big cargo bay and all-wheel drive, you get all the sport utility you need. But with a smooth ride and better gas mileage, the Outback is far from ordinary. Like me, really. What a weird-looking bunch that was.
See your local Subaru dealer before January 4th. Make your best offer on any new Subaru and take $500 off.
Honda presents a solidly constructed offer on the Civic sedan. With air conditioning, AM/FM CD player, automatic transmission, power door locks, and a remote entry system. All for an unexpected $15,045. The limited issue Civic sedan. Better strike while the iron's hot.
A picture-perfect moment in 1948 when the Polaroid camera goes on sale. The McDonald brothers opened their first restaurant selling hamburgers for 15 cents. The popular long-running Ed Sullivan Show debuts. WNHC goes on the air as the first TV station in Connecticut. 1948, a banner year for breaking new ground.
Since 1948, a lot has happened. When we went from film to videotape, it changed the face of local television dramatically.
Technology has changed the way viewers get their news. With new services like the internet and satellites, it's easier than ever to find out the latest news.
Jeff Fox takes a look at what's still to come.
Right now for a little report on the weather.
Over the last hour, you've gotten to see a lot of what this station was over the last 50 years. And a lot of it looks really dated. Truth is, WTNH has always been current. It's just times that change. We've amassed a growing fleet of satellite and microwave trucks. And of course, Chopper 8 Live.
Transmitted live.
We've had helicopters before, but never with the ability to do so much live. And with its gyro-stabilized camera lens, what we get live will be a whole lot easier to watch. In order to control that tidal wave of information, we've embraced satellite and computer technology in ways never before possible. You can even see the news when we're not on the air by going with your home computer to our webpage. It's another news tool. When I came here nearly 15 years ago, this was just a roof. Today, It's a platform for satellite dishes, each bringing a different stream of pictures and text into the station. We still record that information on videotape, but even that's changing. Producers and reporters are now previewing stories from around the world right at their desks on their own PCs. High-speed computer access might, with enough capacity, allow us to send individual newscasts to individual homes based on your needs and time constraints. We might send things to you over the air. We're already sending high-definition television signals out on Channel 10. Unfortunately, nothing we can show you on today's sets will do it justice. But the picture is so crisp and well-defined that it's a quantum leap ahead of anything you've seen before. Ann and Brian, back to you.
Thanks, Jeff. And Ken, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been great to be back on Channel 8 and to see so many of my old friends.
And we'll see you in another 50 years?
I hope so.
Okay. And thank you, too, for sharing a part of your evening with us and helping us to celebrate 50 years on the air.
You know, we couldn't have done this without you and your support over the years.
We're looking forward to another 50 years and sharing many more memories with you as we head into the next millennium. Good night, everybody.
From all of us here at the Drew Carey Show, happy 50th then at WTNH.
Great idea.
Our location today is the Frontier. State Police continue a broad investigation. They were scheduled to play 14 opening round matches.
To Capitol Hill, where testimony continues today.
The storm has impacted the lives of people on this weekend.
Sue Simmons had her big afro, you know what I mean? And she was absolutely drop-dead beautiful.
Well, the storm is centered right now off the coast of Delaware for the rise of the murder rate.
We are on the backside of an industrial building. Ask me again. Hi, Nina. I know this is going to be funny. Okay, go ahead.
At this point, police say it's unlikely any charges will be filed.
Certainly wasn't the sort of thing. Tell me if this seems familiar to you.
Her two children were aged 14, and state officials remain tight-lipped.
The sign that was on the door when we arrived was part of a very large group of folks that will eventually...
As members of the national organization, we even have an extra model presenting that gentleman of distinction, Ken Venturi, wearing his
he's
own
a golfer,
special
Ken
version
Venturi.
of
I didn't say WTNH.
I said WNTH.
We had a period of time where, and it was somebody's idea from somewhere else, where we would just have people go thumbs up. We would ask anybody to give us thumbs up.
Okay, one more time. From all of us here at the Drew Carey Show,
Happy 50th WTNH!
All right.